Growing up, I always felt like the house I lived in was haunted. Feelings of being watched, weird noises, just creepy vibes in general, especially in the basement and on the top floor of the house. It wasn't a terribly old house. It was built in the 1940s, and my mom, her two sisters, and my grandma and grandpa moved into it when she was a child in the 1950s. Only one family lived in it before them, a mother and a father, and one daughter. So I never thought of it as a classic haunted house. The thing just felt too new to have a bunch of restless spirits in it. While growing up, nothing too outrageous ever happened to me. Just like I said, weird vibes and creepy feelings of being watched. I'm now 31, and I haven't lived in the house since I was 19. This last December, I brought my boyfriend home for Christmas to meet the family. He and I have talked about creepy experiences before, and he told me that as a child, he had a lot of creepy experiences growing up. Seeing and talking to people he could clearly see that no one else could. Dead people, apparently. This terrified me. But he explained that it hasn't happened for many years, and that he feels in tune with others in the world around him. I should also mention he told me that his mother had a lot of these same experiences growing up. Now, when I bring him home for Christmas, I didn't think twice about any of the things he had told me about his experiences growing up, or the background of the creepy vibes I got in the house as a kid. So, to the unexplainable part. The top floor of the house is basically just one big room, with two beds in it at the opposite side of the room from where the stairs are. If that makes sense. Basically, once you come up the stairs, you have to turn and walk all the way across the room to get to the beds. So, we're upstairs lying in bed, trying to fall asleep. I can feel my boyfriend's body relaxing and starting to fall asleep, just as I am. Right at that point, what sounds like extremely loud, fast-running footsteps come from the top of the stairs across the room to the foot of the bed where we are laying in, and it feels like a small hand grabs my foot. I jerk awake and look around with my eyes instead of sitting up. I'm a bit terrified, and I don't see anything. This scares the living crap out of me, and I can feel my boyfriend jerk awake as well, but neither of us move or make a sound. We lay in silence for a little while, and I finally muster up the courage to ask him if he's awake. He says yes, and then asks me if I heard and felt that. I try to rationalize what just happened, but still be objective about the situation. So I say, "What do you mean?" He tells me it sounded like someone ran across the room and then grabbed my foot. I confirm that, yes, I did hear and feel that. We both kind of nervously laugh about it and start trying to figure out what could have caused it. Now, I should have mentioned earlier, I have a little brother that is 11 years my junior, who still lives at home. He isn't prone to pranks or scaring people, but I immediately think he has some hand in this, but cannot rationalize a way he could have grabbed my foot and slunk out of the room and down the stairs without being seen or making a sound. I finally tell my boyfriend that I'm going to go downstairs and see if anyone is up or if they heard anything. I put the TV on in the room, and he nervously tells me to hurry up. I get downstairs and see my brother half asleep eating some late night snacks and watching TV. I ask him if he heard anything or was making noise down here. He kind of looks at me in a sleepy haze and says, "What are you talking about? No." He wakes up a little bit after looking at me and seeing I'm in a bit of a scared state. I tell him what happened, and I can clearly see that he is now freaked out. He proceeds to tell me that after I moved out, the weirdness apparently intensified, but he didn't want to bring it up or scare my boyfriend. He had never brought any of this creepy stuff up with his friends, but apparently one day one of them was using the downstairs bathroom, and as they were washing their hands, they looked up in the mirror and saw what they described to be a little girl standing in the shower. This creeped me out a lot. He then proceeds to tell me that my mom had a party recently where she invited a psychic over to give everyone readings. When my mom walked into the room to get hers read, the psychic asked, "Who's the little girl with you?" Mind you, I'm standing in my underwear with a t-shirt on in the middle of the night, hearing this for the first time, and it's pretty unsettling to say the least. I decide to keep it to myself and go back upstairs and talk to my mom in the morning about everything. Well, I go back upstairs and I tell my boyfriend I don't have a rational explanation for what just happened, and for us to just try and get some sleep. We decide to leave the TV on, as we are both still pretty creeped out. We lay there for what feels like forever, and I finally start to drift off to sleep again, when suddenly an extremely loud bang, bang, bang happens right next to my head on the wall where we are laying in bed. I immediately sit up and yell, "Leave us alone!" and then lay back down. My boyfriend trying to be all tough when I'm absolutely beside myself with fear. He ends up falling asleep after a few hours, and I remember the sun coming up before finally falling asleep for a few hours. The next day I bring all this up to my mom, and she looks at me with the strangest look and says, "I know, it's gotten really weird here since you moved out, and I think I'm starting to understand why." She tells me about seeing a small floating light in her room at night sometimes, the feeling of someone small tugging at the bottom of her shirt, and then she drops a huge bomb. When she and her family growing up moved into the house, my grandma and mom were digging up the backyard to put in a garden. In the back part of the yard, as they were digging, they found a small box with some badly worn scraps of paper that they couldn't make out, and a jar with what looked like a dark, thick liquid in it. At the time, they didn't think anything of it, other than it was a bit strange, and threw the box and its contents away. My mom and grandmother believe that the girl who lived in the house before us had gotten pregnant and got rid of the baby herself for fear of being a single teen mom in the 40s and buried it in the backyard. So yeah, there you go. Freaking mind-blowing at this point for me. What caused everything to ramp up, I have no idea. Maybe having my boyfriend in the house who's in tune with that sort of thing? I don't know. Regardless, it was terrifying and completely unexplained. And I'm really nervous about going home for the holidays now. Alright, my lovely lilies, thank you so much for watching the new video. If you can, hit that subscribe and like button, comment below and tell me your thoughts. Also, don't forget to tap the little notification bell so you're always in the know on this channel. As well, guys, you can always find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and always you can hit me up in my emails. Feel free to send me your stories, whether they're fiction or totally true. I'm always up for some great stories. And oh, by the way, until next time, sweet dreams.